Nemesis for the original Game Boy? Of course you don't. Freaking thing's 23 years old. But if you were around back in 1990, you're probably an old man, like me. And maybe you remember Nemesis as being that Gradius game without the Gradius name, which always seemed like a pointless change, but whatevs. Anyway, 2 years later, this came out. It's called Gradius Interstellar Assault here in America, but everywhere else, this is Nemesis II. So, it's a Nemesis game without the Nemesis name, which is just a Gradius game without the Gradius name. Only, it is Gradius. Well, now I have a freaking headache! There are some things I'll never understand. Quantum physics, dressage, how the philosophy of austerity makes any sense during a period of economic distress, and why publishers name their video games like 18 different things. Nonetheless, by any name, Interstellar Assault is still a really good game, and as you'd expect, it's a really difficult one too. So this game was released to the Game Boy in 1992, which is about 2 years after the original Nemesis. You know, in our review of that game, I talked a lot about the hardware of the original Game Boy, and how it made it kind of hard to appreciate a game like Nemesis, which was a lot more complex visually than was ideal for the system screen. And with Interstellar Assault, it's even more so. I mean, this is a great game. If you can find it, buy it. Just make sure you buy a Game Boy player too. Otherwise, you'll have a headache. For very different reasons. So, if you've played Nemesis, you'll be very familiar with Interstellar Assault. It's the same basic gameplay. And again, as long as you've played Gradius, you've basically played Nemesis. This is a side-scrolling shooter in which you blast your way through 5 levels as the legendary Vic Viper. A pilot who just as easily could have been a professional wrestler with a name like Vic Viper. Heavyweight champion of blowing shit up. And of course, as a Gradius game, the most distinguishing feature is its power-up system. You start by choosing which weapons to use before each level, and from there you get to power up like crazy. Collecting items fills your power-up bar, and from there you can apply those power-ups to your ship. Eventually you can turn it into a monster. With all your power-ups up and running, you can just mow through enemies pretty easily. Catch is, one little mistake is all it takes, no matter how many lasers you're shooting. Like the first Nemesis, this second Nemesis, which is named Gradius, is just a condensed Gradius for the Game Boy. There are only 5 levels, but the high difficulty certainly extends the experience. And you know, even though it's really shrunk down for the Game Boy, it's still an impressive game, especially in terms of its visuals. There are little cutscenes, tons of enemies, less slowdown than with the original, and some really cool bosses in particular. Interstellar Assault continued the Gradius tradition of bringing great shooters to the Game Boy and compromising as little as possible. This particular version continues the tradition of Mark from Brooklyn, sending us awesome games. Now, it's hardly at its best on its intended hardware's blurry screen, but on a Game Boy player, Gradius Interstellar Assault is totally worth the frustration.